Hello, welcome to Frank's School. This is the 5th year, 155th day, first video of today. There might be two. We'll see how if I can go through this all. I'm going to give a state of the school explanation. This is December, well, it's not quite December, but almost 2016. And today is the Sunday before the Monday, which is the first day of deer season. And it's not so safe to be walking around in the woods in deer season. So it's a good time for me to film from certain places. This is largely going to be of the Camp Ranch campus. Frank's School is online, and there's 5 years of it now. And you know, you can see it. I online, well, what I did was this year I specifically planned on concentrating on what I'm actually doing here physically. There are many baselines where I filmed a spot that I am beginning to work or have begun to work. There's many of them. And then the year online was also taken up quite a bit of time with prequels to a trip to Europe, which now I plan to take, and I'm getting pretty confident this time I will be taking it in September of 2017. I had thought March. And you're welcome to come along, Portugal and the Alps. I'll deal with that. I'll say more about that later. The Trump's election, in many ways a complete disaster. That I devoted I don't know how much time in Frank's School I devoted to that, but I concentrated a good bit on that, trying to avoid that, but it happened. All right, what I'm going to do this afternoon is I'm going to go outside. I'm going to start to walk around and film, as I've done 3 or 4 times other years. And I've mostly laid out the campus, the village. It's laid out and built up to, I say, fence height or waist height. The fences and the huts are the same style of construction. The one just blends into the other. And what's going to happen gradually is the huts are going to grow out of the fences. In many places, it's going to just seem like that the fences almost like mushrooms. They're there, and then they shoot out a hut. And there are many. Yeah, here I go. And so you'll see that this year there have been many pre-existing conditions, I call it, that I've had to deal with, and there still are. Things coming down to me from myself or my grandfather before me or whoever that I had neglected, and I really had to deal with them, and there are still others. So many problems with the roofs on buildings that are already up. An example is the blacksmith shop, which so sorely needs to have the roof finished and worked on some more. And we did that. You're going to see all this stuff, but it has hampered me some this year in that that's a lot of times not the most fun thing to do, is go back and fix something or finish something when you could do something new. And the whole farm, or not the whole farm, but the village part looks like a construction site. It has for years and years, a construction site. With the material laying all around, and you need an imagination really to see what it's going to look like afterward. I've worked with the seasons. That I always have to do that. Certain jobs fit in certain seasons. Like right now, the ground has not yet frozen. And so the work I'm doing right now is trying to do outside what's on the ground or in the ground before it freezes. And there's snow and ice, and then in the spring mud. During that time, I'll move more indoors to work on things. Or I can work on the huts as well because they'll be up off the ground. And another thing this year, I have often been alone. I've been working completely alone a lot of the time. I have one man who helps me a couple times a day, usually, a couple afternoons or a few hours, not a day, a week. But he's been busy with his projects, and I had another man who sometimes helps me, and he hasn't. So very often I've been working alone this year, and my health has been an issue. I commented on it different times because I'd noticed I was getting lightheaded and why, and they know that now. They know why, and December 9th I'll have an ablation on my heart. I have SVT, supraventricular tachycardia, and supposedly they can fix me completely up. But anyway, that has slowed me up some days very much. All right, now, what's out there? Well, there are about 30 huts that I have to put the tops on. I've brought them up to waist high. The biggest is less than 100 square feet, so these are really small. And there's about 25 or so like that, maybe not quite that many. But I have to put the tops on them, including the roofs. Now they're in clusters. I've realized that after a while, that what I was building was clusters of huts. And you see here in Bedford anyway, if you build something less than 100 square feet, it's not taxed, and there's no building code that applies. If it's not on the floodplain, if there's no electric to it, no plumbing, it's not taxed. And so what I've done is I've built separate little huts. A good way to do it, I think, actually. They're in clusters. Now money is, it slows me up some. Each one of these huts probably will cost in the vicinity of $300. Not very much money, but when you've got 30 of them, that's $10,000 I don't really have. Little by little, as I have money, I can buy what I need to do them. So it sort of fits my schedule anyway. You know, I can only work so fast. I resolved that I'm going to try to, for the roofs, that was going to be a big expense, even though they're small. Roofing material, I think I'm going to use sod, grass. I thought long and hard about this, and I'm quite sure I can do that. Now, of these 30 huts, one of them I took up, and you'll see it, one of them I took up to the point where I framed the roof, and I could see what it was going to look like. I didn't finish it, I didn't actually roof it, but I took it far enough that I have at least one, so I could say, now that's what I'm going to build in about 30 of them. I've got 3 kitchens to build this coming year. Now when I say kitchen, these are old-fashioned kitchens based on a cook stove, a cast iron cook stove. I have 3. No electricity needed. I mean, there might be electricity there. So they're somewhat simple kitchens, but anyway, they're to be built. I've got about 1/4 mile of pallet fences to adjust. The way I build them, you can move them around, and I want to get them just right. At a certain point I decided, although you can do a pallet fence on a curve just fine, I decided in several instances that I wanted to go straight, that for reasons of being able to pull tension on it later, but maybe I'll show you more about that. The older barn I'm converting into a guest house. I'm working on it now. That'll be a major job in this coming year. The newer barn into a performance venue, Thomas Hockling Hall, with a balcony. I mean, already it could be used, but I'm building a balcony around it as well. And I have the material for almost all this. This $300 is in new material, and I don't have to buy very much. I've got windmills to build. I've never built one yet, but I have maybe 5 or so fairly big ones I've planned. Not like not big like you'd think in Holland, but big enough, like in Portugal. Water wheels to build. I don't know. You know, this isn't the highest priority, but it's some of the fun that's coming. And the shops are beginning to help each other, a mutual help from shops, I say, because now I have a blacksmith shop, sort of, that I can use. And, you know, I know where certain tools are and how things are organized. Now, during this past year, I got goats. I had gotten goats before that. But anyway, those 4 goats now has gone up to 10. I have 10 goats now. The original 4, one of them was a wild, dangerous billy goat, and I finally gave him away. And I'll probably have 20 or a little bit more by spring. And that'll be the right number. They'll help a lot. I think they've already helped a lot in getting the vegetation under control. I have 5 chickens, a horse. My neighbor gave me a horse, beautiful, older horse, but beautiful. I still have 2 cows. And of course, I had to build the pens, and I still continue to have to adjust these pens for these animals. They weren't there. I mean, I had to build them. All right, at what point can I actually ask for help? I had been hoping it would have been April of this coming year, April 2017, maybe summer 2017. But I'm certainly hoping that spring by 2018. By that time, I might be in a position to welcome help, people to actually come here and stay and help, a little bit like woofers. And at a certain point in the year, I don't know when it was, I realized that the legality of all that, I can call it a campground. I can give them, there's a whole big area where they could camp if they're willing to camp. I mean, someone who wasn't willing to rough it shouldn't think about coming. And they can simply be my guests. You know, they wouldn't pay me anything, and I wouldn't pay them anything. They'd just be my guests. I think I can do that. But anyway, that would be maybe this summer. Well, I've spoken a little fast because this is a lot of stuff. And what I'm going to do this afternoon now is I'll go out and I'll start filming. But this stuff, I just thought it would be easier to say it at the blackboard. Bye for now.